right, it's October 4th, 5:30, Rules, Public Elections and Confirmation Committee meeting to discuss rules for the 2019 to 23 term. Last week, we went through the first 41 rules, and so the copies here are marked up. I thought we'd just run from the beginning through the changes that we made and that are incorporated in here. They're on the right side. You'll see that they have RC instead of DRR next to them, all the Rules Committee changes, starting at the bottom of rule number 2 there, where we said, commented RC3, we changed the elections for pro tem and a deputy pro tem to say next August 31st following their election to the aforementioned positions, clarifying it wasn't their election to council, or until a successor has been elected. Putting it on October 20th because that's the latest date the second meeting of October can be held. So that guarantees that happens in a timely fashion and on the same schedule that we did this year for an election year. Does that make sense? That's a yes.
Yes.
Rule 4, we put at the top standing committee so that we wouldn't have to use standing throughout the entire rule, and also clarified that the language that you can't be a chair and a vice chair, which has always been the practice, but this just says it more explicitly. Our next change was in Rule 8. We moved the last sentence of the first paragraph to Rule 10, and we also got rid of Ms. Lady Porterfield's recommendation, the word only in the first sentence. That wasn't necessary.
Did you notify her that she was superfluous?
She's not superfluous, the word only.
Only the word.
Yes, exactly. She's far from. Rule 9, we clarified that afforded the opportunity to be its co-sponsor is referring to prior to the filing deadline, since anybody can be a co-sponsor after the filing deadline. Rule 10 has that sentence from Rule 8 with no changes regarding filing requirements. Rule 11, second to last paragraph, top of page 7. We got rid of the whether and the things that folks coming before the committee with late filed stuff should be able to address. So why there's emergency, whether it could have been timely filed, and whether the matter can wait.
Is this where we said we were gonna visit having standardized questions at this meeting?
Maybe. Is anybody?
I thought that we had determined that these 3 questions were valid. There was a lot of conversation back and forth, but it ended with these are valid because of several things that had happened in the past.
Does anybody have any?
Do we address, because I have not looked at this as closely as I should have before tonight again, do we address if the sponsor does not appear before rules?
I don't think we talked about that last time.
Do we need to address if they do not appear before? I guess by not clearing it, by not having a rule in here, then we on the floor as rules would say we object, right? Okay, cool. Moving on.
Okay. Rule 15 and a half. There was a question about whether, I guess, this last sentence of the first paragraph should be in Rule 15 or 17. I'm indifferent myself.
Looks good there.
Okay. So it's what? Evening. The latest marked up copies are right there.
Thank you.
we're running through what we went through last week, just running through the Rules Committee changes, including getting rid of the word only that you determined to be superfluous. Rule 20,
So we're on page 9,
page 10.
page 10.
Second part of Rule, the last sentence of Rule 20, we moved to Rule 22 regarding prerequisites for zoning bills.
The new 22, the new 21, 21 and a half.
Sorry, 21 and a half. Yes. In Rule 21 and a half, clarified that any property to be rezoned needing to be up to date on property taxes is a reference to those seeking new entitlements and not something that's part of a mass down zone. Those would still be eligible to be rezoned, even if they haven't been, even if they're not up to date.
What if there is a massive, we've seen some, Colby, I think you did this, didn't you, I guess it might be an upzone, didn't you change like a bunch of around Edge Hill to like an RA, like an R6A or something?
When we did, so Councilman O'Connell and I had Edge Hill that moved from R6 to R6A, which was no change in entitlement. It was a design change. We did the same. Councilman O'Connell had several of those, and I had another one in another neighborhood too. So
Okay. So it would be fine for this?
in that instance, I would. Then I'm gonna look at John. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's just a design-based change, then that wouldn't apply.
And we could, you could suspend this rule, I assume, if you were, if instead of changing that to an R6A, he was changing it all to, from an R6 to an R?
Well, it would be more like if I were to change it to R6 to RM.
Yeah. If you were going up in density or.
Not just from an R to an R, from an RS to an R.
Yeah, I don't,
If you went from
I don't
RS
know that anyone has ever gone from RS to R.
I guess we just spot zoned enough in District 5 last time.
Well, I do think this continues to bring up if we have a conversation, and I don't anticipate us having this conversation right now, but if we have a conversation about mass upzoning somewhere. But to your point, you could suspend the rules.
A little farther down in 21 and a half, that substitutes introducing SP zoning upon second or third may rely on the previous planning commission recommendation only if the SP is equally or more restrictive as, more restrictive than,
Yeah, as,
more restrictive
equally
than.
as or,
Where is it?
I can't see. It's
More
restrictive.
I say equally as restrictive.
Equally as restrictive or more restrictive than the,
Yeah.
whichever, the original zoning request.
Wording's a little wonky.
It is.
At least equally as.
Clean that up. And then that last sentence of the paragraph comes from Rule 20 with no changes. 22, we clarified what written authorization means when it comes to withdrawal of legislation, so it may only be requested by the sponsor or by a co-sponsor if accompanied by a letter sent to the vice mayor. That's bad wording too. If accompanied by a letter sent to the vice mayor from the sponsor.
What does it matter? I mean, if it may only be requested by the sponsor or with a letter. Oh, so it would be like if I was your co-sponsor and me on the floor
And
doing
I was
it and there
absent
was a
that
letter?
night, I
Okay.
would have to have a letter for you to be able to withdraw the legislation.
On the floor, gotcha.
Change. Then 24, last paragraph of 24. Any ordinance or resolution that receives recommendation of indefinite deferral from 2/3 of the members present and voting, to clarify what that.
Rosenberg, I'm sorry to bother you, but I've got to go, but I just want you to know you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Councilman Roden. I appreciate you being here to affirm that.
Thank you. See you.
You're welcome to stay.
Have a good evening.
Rule 30. time on speakers. We clarified.
I think we're missing some joy.
What's up, Joy? What's up, Council Lady?
You know, I was already told my wish list for Christmas was denied, so.
About limiting debate to
Yeah.
1 or 2 people. Yes.
Golly gee willikers.
So a council member shall be entitled to yield their time to another member once per pending motion and not once in their entire lives.
Thank you.
Welcome. 31, mayor's privilege of the floor. The mayor or an authorized representative, subject to the discretion of the vice mayor, shall have the privilege of the floor. So the mayor's always got it, but if it's...
You want to know my only comment before I go?
Yeah.
Small snacks.
It's in there. Subject to so the mayor's always got the privilege, and an authorized representative would be at the discretion of the vice mayor.
Question.
Yes.
In the event that the vice mayor was absent, would that then fall to the discretion of pro tem?
Yes, Rule 2 says that any of the duties of the vice mayor fall to the pro tem.
Okay, so no need to clarify it here because it's in Rule 2.
Correct.
Thank you.
32. 32. Okay. During the public comment period held at the second regular, okay, that was what was already there. The next one, during all other public hearings, individuals shall be allowed to speak for 2 minutes each matter. So we didn't come to a conclusion on the SNAP public hearing matter about whether that should be at the same 2/3 threshold, should be subject to a rule of suspension, or should have some sort of explicit other threshold.
Is that what we were going to discuss later?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was one of them.
Okay.
Formulating thoughts, carry on while I
Okay.
figure out what.
Anybody have thoughts
And whether it's immediate or whether it has to be later?
on how to handle the prospect of
When
having
it
a public
comes
hearing
up.
that doesn't take place at a subsequent meeting?
Much like the last meeting. So how do we go about that?
There are lots of rules that kind of close things out on the last meeting where you couldn't do it. Like you could indefinitely defer a bill in the last meeting, which means it could never come back, right? So.
I think Joy was talking about the prior meeting, our last meeting, not our final meeting.
I mean,
Yes, for council.
I'm of the opinion it's just 2/3 no matter what, and then you can't do it that night. And that is purely based on my feeling that a poorly noticed public hearing is worse than no public hearing at all.
I agreed with that the last time. I think as long as we have something that is set and we can follow it, and if we're going to suspend, we need to just have some prior notice for preparation purposes.
Because there have been plenty of times that there are impromptu things outside that we can hear.
Right.
And we can choose to leave the meeting to go hear it if necessary.
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So add a subsequent president at such meeting to allow members of the public to address the council. Such motions shall specify at which meeting the public hearing is to take place and may not and must. What's the best way to word that?
Wait, what are you trying to say?
Hoping our attorneys can say that it can't be at this meeting.
I think it shall specify at which subsequent meeting the public hearing.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
And this might be, do I address it to you too either? So the vice mayor could then say that the subsequent hearing is immediately following this council meeting, correct? So if someone comes today,
Subsequent meeting.
would there have to be the next scheduled meeting, or
You could call the vice mayor could call a special meeting for that purpose, but it couldn't be it would have to be a different day. It could
Okay.
be that.
That night.
Why couldn't it be that night?
Properly noticed.
Yeah, you can't,
Okay,
notice.
Gotcha.
Would there be any limitation to how many times somebody could use this rule in the same meeting?
The rest of the body.
So everybody could, I mean, really? Right?
That's right.
Okay.
39 other people.
Our waiting patience, that's what I think. Yeah.
All right.
Joy whipping votes.
That's,
Zooming right along. All right, 38. We just deleted or voted in the negative. Permis weights and also combined 38 and 39. Rule 40, we just changed the title. Okay. Now we're back. We've caught up to where we were.
Only took 21 minutes.
Election of members of council to commissions and conduct of all elections. It says all elections. There are subsequent rules that that supersede some of this, so that'll be addressed separately. There's really nothing of substance here except for a grammatical thing that was bugging me and under number 3 there. 43, it was suggested that since we have some elections for other things like the Community Education Commission that we're doing tomorrow, which is not addressed anywhere in the rules, well, sort of is in 42, but may as well be handled the rest the same as IDB and HEF, that we change this to not just be restricted to IDB and HEF, but also include all boards and commissions to which we elect people. Board of Education accepted and any other elected position. In the event of a vacancy for a board or commission not otherwise addressed in these rules and for which council is charged with selecting a successor, the following procedure shall be established. There's just language in number 1 there to include commissions. And in number 2, we include the date of that the questionnaire needs to be turned in because we don't have that in the rule right now. There's no explicit deadline for turning in your questionnaire like there is for mayoral appointments and that sort of thing.
But the way that the draft is worded right now, it says sent to the council, but actually, I assume that the other rules.
They say it too because it's assuming that you're going to get it in enough time to get it to us. So I guess you set a deadline for this is copied and pasted from the other spots. I think the assumption is you're going to set a deadline for appointees to get them to you in time for you to get them to members by 4.
Oh, well, under Rule 44, the nominations and the questionnaires are filed with the clerk. Under Part 3. And then it goes on to say how,
So would you rather go 3 business days instead of the way it's treated for boards and commissions?
no, I don't have a problem with the timing, I just think that it should clarify that this 4 o'clock deadline applies to them filing it with the clerk.
So where is the rule about
So it's like
appointees?
worded a little differently, like business days after, kind of that, nominations shall be filed in writing, not later than 4 p.m. on the day, which is 1 week following the date. Probably that language could be cleaned up a little bit in 44, but whenever you do the math, it ends up being the Friday after the nominations are submitted.
So the difference is 43, we're talking about electing people to boards and commissions, and then 44 is specific to elected officials, like school board and judges. So I don't know if that makes a difference in the timing.
Our
when
office
you would
is,
need it.
Isn't there a rule that talks about confirmations?
There is for, yeah, 40, yeah.
Okay, so 41 is the no action may be taken.
oh, I see, that's sent to the clerk. Probably should be sent to the clerk.
There's no deadline in 41 for,
Confirmation.
Is until and unless, or is it until or unless? In 41, this one sentence, I'm looking at it. No action will be taken upon such appointee until and unless such completed questionnaires. Is it or? It's not and, is it? Until and unless?
yeah. Legal.
Oh, I see, the 4 o'clock thing is new, because we haven't, our office has never set the deadline before. It goes out in the memo. And then usually the deadline for the questionnaires is 4.
4 o'clock is taken from somewhere else in the rules where there's a deadline for filing stuff that's 4 p.m.
Yeah, that's under 44.
Okay.
The nominations shall be filed with the clerk not later than 4 p.m. And then it goes on to explain what day
Yes.
that is.
We should have just the same language and the same days for everything, as much as
That'd be
possible.
nice. Yeah.
Because I guess what we're seeing here is, some places 5 days, and then Elizabeth, you pointed out it's 3 days,
3 days after
Somewhere.
for one thing.
or on the day, which is 1 week following the date.
Yeah, I don't have a preference, and we don't have to, necessarily discuss it, but I do agree that it causes an inordinate amount of administrative time and hassle and thought for our office that these aren't all the same.
Yeah.
John, is there a reason in the past they've been different, or is it just as things come up, they were?
This is, the rules are 50 years worth of addressing particular situations one at a time.
You know all of them, right? I mean, you.
Not all 50 years. Half that. No. Yeah, that's what
Why don't we
happens.
just have Hannah and John come up with standards?
It's like the,
Well, I think it makes sense for it to be different for mayoral appointments where we're meeting with them before Rules Committee the day before, or the day of the meeting, for it to be 5 days, whereas for some of these elections, we're having interviews a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance of the election. It'd be helpful to have
Right.
those
No, that makes
materials
sense.
in. So it might make sense to have 2 different deadlines, but certainly not 3.
Yes, I agree with you. The thing, 41 is about the routine confirmations that we're doing, and I think that's all fine. Those
Okay.
changes are all fine. So
Okay.
maybe if we could just take a closer look at 42 and
42 and
43 and make
43.
those the same, that would be really, really great.
Well, I think 43 is nice. I mean, 44.
Oh, and I don't have a preference, that's why, if somebody wants to just kind of, whatever works for anybody.
Is
44 is
43 different?
nominations.
Is 43 handled different because of the state code? Does it require anything?
no,
I mean, not that I
it's
expect you to
really
know
handled
it, but-
different because of the extra level of questionnaires that the public official candidates have to fill out. Like, you've got the timing for getting on judicial candidates, you've got to get the National Bar Association and the Napier-Luby Bar Association. They do their surveys of all the members and rank the candidates. And so it's just kind of a different
I just didn't know
process.
if
But I think you could make the timing for when stuff gets filed or submitted to the council the same.
I just brought it up because the code, the Tennessee code, is cited in these rules.
That's
That's
just
where I'm.
referencing
Those two boards.
the fact that that the council elects the members of those two boards as opposed to mayoral appointment.
They weren't listed at some point because they say something
No, it just
special.
said, no, there's no timing in those statutes for,
Okay. I was hoping that would give us an easy out of why.
no, sorry.
Shocking, the state didn't help us on this one.
So can can we say within that everybody's questionnaires have to be in 9 days after the notice of vacancy? Or
Will that be the
9 days
same
after,
as-
well, no, because nomination period is different for IDB versus school board and judges. I'm starting to see why they're all different deadlines.
Well, so functionally, Friday at 4 is, if we could at least just have Friday at 4 is the time that they have to be filed with the clerk. Our office will send it out directly after we get them.
Which Friday at 4?
The applicable Friday at 4. I guess it's the Friday after the nominations for the IDB and such, and the Friday after the nominations for the other ones because of that process with the local bar associations. So they're two different Fridays, but
It's still 4 PM.
either way, it would be just filing with the clerk at 4 instead of us sending it to the council, because then it puts us in a position of having to arbitrarily create a different deadline so we can give it to you all by 4. It's just easier to say it's filed by us and then we give it to you.
Okay. So, action will be taken until such questionnaires have been received by, so back on 41, which is the exact same thing, have been received by the clerk by 4 PM and sent to council by 6 PM,
At least 5 days.
at least 5
It's
days.
up to you if you feel like there needs to be a rule for us to give it. I mean, that's up to you.
Because functionally midnight ends up being,
I
Like
just
the
don't want
next
to get in a
day.
situation like we got with the automatic appointment. I don't want us to set up anything where
Yeah.
where she's gonna have to do something after hours on a Friday, so we're technically notified by a certain time, you know?
Well, because
was
of that
outrageous.
happened, then I told my staff that we needed to change our procedures where either all the letters get filed on the Tuesday of the council meeting and they go all to you in one packet on Wednesday. Otherwise, if we get letters filed in an inordinary day, they need to be provided to you directly. That way, you're on notice as soon as we're on notice. I mean, and that's fine if we put that in the rules, because that
Yeah.
is what we
I
decided
just don't
to
wanna
do as a result of
set
that.
it up for
Right.
where something's having to be filed on, like, you know, some random Thanksgiving or Good Friday or whatever random Friday holiday that nobody else is in town, but not that the mayor would do this, but or whatever, you know.
so in 41, if we're talking 5 days before, which is a Thursday, so we could do noon and 4 PM.
So noon at 4.
Noon to the
At
clerk
least.
and
Okay.
4
To
to
us.
the council, 5 days before the vote for confirmation. That's, yeah, we're setting policies for the clerk's office if we do that.
Actually, that's what our notice to people says.
Perfect.
now.
Yeah,
Yep.
great minds, okay. 42,
And then we'll do the same thing on 43.
42 doesn't say, 42 is just about the elections. 43,
Just
yeah.
43.
No action unless such questionnaire has been sent to council to, yeah,
Okay.
noon 4 and 43.
Yep.
Here's something I should probably raise too. This last time, actually, Councilmember Stiles had someone who was nominated. We thought we had emailed the person and discovered we hadn't. In fact, the council member discovered that we hadn't emailed them because of communication between you and your nominee. We basically notified him like 2 days in advance and spent the next 2 days kind of routinely checking in. It ended up going out late, so that's the one that you got like 6, 8 o'clock at night on a Friday, was because I did need to go ahead. I think it was actually corrected. Macy sent it early. I ended up sending out a corrected one because I didn't think it was fair to the nominee that he ended up having a work-related emergency that came up on Friday when it was supposed to be due, and it was our office's fault for not. So, it's just one thing that already came up.
So right now, there is no deadline in the rules,
Yeah,
right?
we just provide it when we get them.
Okay.
And normally we get them at 4. That's kind of what goes out in that notice, is you have to file it with the clerk by 4. And then that, hopefully that gives me just a little bit of discretion. That situation doesn't come up often, but it did come up now. And I feel like it was a fair way to fix it without causing more headache for a lot of people.
Would Joy, in that situation, like if it happened with this rule in place, would Joy then have to suspend this rule at the next meeting to have her nominee considered? Because it wasn't to the clerk by noon?
Yes.
So we'd wait, that it could still be considered.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but,
Okay.
yeah.
So she would like
She'd have to explain why it didn't get in.
that, and she would just do, but then she would suspend the rule on the floor. And would this still be an okay time slot, whatever, or interval for like if another COB type of situation happens where we have the onslaught? I mean, I assume your office would know, like y'all would know, we would all know ahead of time there's gonna be a ton coming in, and y'all could prepare accordingly, but like,
We don't,
I guess those would
it's
be the
hard to
rare times
respond
you
to
would just,
that.
yeah.
That was a huge lift, so I have no way to, I anticipate that this year it just won't be like last year because we're filling, 1 or 2 vacancies and the mayor has one.
And we could always
We don't
suspend this rule if it
know
was a huge
how many
onslaught.
people were applying for those spots right now, so we still don't have enough experience to know exactly how to grapple with that one.
But I guess it's probably best to have this rule and the ability to suspend it if some kind of landslide of people come in, than to not have it at all, right? With the will of asking committee. Do you think it's better to have a rule on times and suspend it, or not have a?
I think suspension is the right thing to do, yes.
We're good. 44.
You should know there's a typo at the top of page 20. It says and nominee instead of.
We already got that, we got that over here.
I just feel like I need to
We took judicial notice of that.
And that's copied and pasted from somewhere too. So it's probably some too. 44, the only change, even though it says no substantive change, is H. The resume and written questionnaire shall include a bunch of things that they can fill the blank in and professional and personal conduct, and that's,
I don't even know what that means.
yeah, there's a lot of that going around. So, I don't even know if it's on the questionnaire.
Yeah, it's on the questionnaire.
What's it ask?
For them to waive their confidentiality with the Board of Professional Responsibility so that we can pull their records of their disciplinary actions. I have been meaning to actually look into whether or not us doing that can waive that, because see, they're under Supreme Court rules with that to be confidential, but I'm not prepared to go into that any further right now.
Okay.
And we're also not directed to actually proactively seek those records, nor do we reasonably have time to do it, I don't think. So that rule is there.
Okay.
I don't know that it's being utilized.
Okay.
But back to the professional and personal conduct, I don't know what that is. So I think striking that is hopeful.
Okay. Rule 45.
I don't think that they can give it even
Sorry.
with the.
Anything else on any of the election rules?
I had one more quick note, and I promise I'll try to keep it brief after that, but I had a question about on Rule 44, under Section 4. Currently, we do send the certified mail to candidates, and we also email them. For any candidate, we have to have an email address to be able to communicate, provide them the questionnaire. When we send the certified mail, the date gets set the Wednesday before the Tuesday meeting. So the earliest we can send out notice of what time that rules meeting is is Wednesday, and then it goes out in the mail, so, kind of, I expect that they're getting these around Saturday for a Tuesday council
Certified
meeting.
mail is just so antiquated. I mean,
It is, but what's the safeguard against like mail ending up in spam or something? Email ending up in spam.
Well, they would have had to, we would have had to communicate with them because they have to return the questionnaire by then anyway.
Okay, so you've already
So
established a
we've already-
channel.
Yes, at that point, we have already communicated with this person.
Does anybody have an issue eliminating certified mail and calling it email instead of electronic mail? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on elections? 45, recall. Procedures are set here. The threshold is set by charter at 3/4. It was suggested that we add it here just so folks would know, the same way we've added a couple things that are already explicitly in Robert's rules. That approval of removal requires 3/4 the entire membership of the council. Anything else on 45? 46. 47. I think the ands and ors are in wrong places there with what is, so, sorry, all right. The first part in the first 1, 2, 3, that's just changing for consistent sentence structure. The next one is currently numbered 1, 2, 3.
I was
And
looking at it and didn't follow you. I'm sorry. Where do you want to spell it? Here.
the bottom 1AB is currently 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
that's a better way for it.
Thank you. We've got one sentence with an and one or, and it's like a math equation with no parentheses. It's kind of whacked out. So it's just flat out says, needs to be signed by the individual requesting distribution. Although shouldn't it be 1 and A or instead B? Is the signature of a council member is sufficient and doesn't require the council member's name, address, and telephone number.
Yeah, that's how we understand it.
So it should be, so the parentheses
Either
ended up
should be
going in the wrong
under, yeah.
place. Yeah, should be 1 and what's currently A.
Wait, why don't you just combine 1 and A? That they are signed, blah, 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 and they've been delivered to the vice mayor, blah, 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 blah.
Because that just makes too much sense.
So the intent was to provide a mechanism for late stuff that people bring in to get on the council desk, but only if a council member puts his or her name on it saying, I authorize this to be distributed. And this was added many years ago just because people were bringing in all kinds of crap at the last minute and wanting it. And so people just had piles of stuff on their desk at the last minute.
And
I
no
feel
way
like
to
we
know
have
who
that
it came
anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we have that anyway, especially with our mail coming to our desks. It's almost hard to see if anything, there's no distinguishing between something that was put on my desk because it was in my mailbox or put on my desk because it was the last minute. And that's the same with, I've complained a little bit about, shocked I know, things that get like handouts, because if something comes to the council office right now and they say put this in everybody's mailbox, they put it in everybody's mailbox. And so it doesn't have to be signed or addressed, just the same if it came through the postal mail. And it's getting on our desk, same with things that are signed are getting on our desk. I mean, that's how we're getting so much stuff on our desk that then nobody can find the amendment packet or a late filed amendment that's not stapled in. Is it something we want to address, or is that something that maybe you could address, y'all could think through something internally?
I think right now that would be against the rules because stuff that's coming through the postal mail has the individual's name, address, and
Not necessarily.
mail.
We get mail all the time that has no return address.
Maybe you do. Powdery substance and
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think the mail has always been put on your desk from your box as a convenience, but
Thank you.
we wouldn't necessarily have to do that if it's
No,
causing
please.
confusion.
I guess what I'm is there's stuff that appears on my desk that I'm assuming came in my postal box because it's on my desk and it's not signed by anyone.
Yes, if it's on your desk, not signed by anyone, then it was in your mailbox.
So someone can
So someone
take it to the council
delivered
without
that
signing.
early to the council office sometime during the week and asked that it be put in their box.
So before that happens, their name, address, and telephone number, I guess.
So should we, maybe the rules should be, or a
I
office
mean, we can make
policy
it
should
where we
be,
don't take anything unless it has a,
Don't take
we
anonymous stuff.
won't put it in the mailbox unless it has a name and address on it.
does it not bother anybody, well,
Or sent through the US mail.
y'all haven't had enough
Just
meetings to
anything to
know
compare
how
it
much
to.
stuff just
You go
piles
at the
up on our
beginning of
desk.
the meeting and sort through it for like 5 minutes, and then it's
I'm
done.
busy. I
Barbara
don't
does
have
it.
committees.
Yeah.
Not everybody's
Probably
been
more
on
than
this
an
committee.
Yeah.
Jealous.
She would love to not have to do that. I would say, people will take this cookies. Yeah.
I'll just have a subcommittee on our desk situation later. Anyone who would like to join me, please.
So
what are we landing
either
on?
they are signed by the individual requesting distribution, show their contact info, and it's been delivered to the vice mayor, the metro clerk, or the council staff with a request for distribution. Or instead of all that, a council member has signed it and said, distribute it.
So it's just 1 and 2? Is that, are we
It's
going to
one,
combine?
yes, 1A is becoming
not-
1 and B
Not
is
to
becoming 2.
beat a dead horse, but with a request for distribution. Is the person bringing because it was 4 years ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I believe 4 years ago on a certain issue, we were presented with an email from someone that it was questionable if it came from them, and it was signed by someone else or requested to distribute by someone else. I mean, what is a request for distribution? I would assume if it's being delivered.
People bring it into the front desk and they have 40
So they can
copies
bring in
and they say,
anything.
I would like this distributed to the council members.
A little touch of anthrax, just in case.
Well, we make Barbara sniff. And so if she is still alive by the council,
We're all
I mean, it's not like our mail goes through anything special anyway. I mean, I got a glitter bomb at my house, so
Which is hilarious.
so let's just hope we don't all get glitter bombs here at the council office, okay? Just trying to protect y'all. I'm doing this for you. Actually doing this for our custodians, I guess.
Well, not to leave this dead horse too soon. Question on, I'm surprised there's not actually a time limit on this one. So they could like do it at 6:29. Like we don't have a thing where we go, no, you can't. You're like late.
Sometimes people hand it like when they're speaking
just
at
get in,
public
yeah.
hearing. So I
but
guess that's it.
we don't distribute those. They can make it a part of the record, but we will not hand them out unless a council member
Signs it.
gets them and goes around, yeah. So if you bring it up at a public hearing, it's not going to everybody's desk, you're too late.
I don't know if people understand. Do we want to time it, like if it's if it's a certain time, if it gets to the clerk by a certain time, it's distributed? If it's after that time, that it goes to the next meeting? Or it's distributed afterwards? Is that what you're looking for, Elizabeth?
Yeah, because we're all busy, you know, like starting at 3. It's kind of like something like that's going to get the deer in headlights look like, okay, we'll do it, you know.
How often does it
We
happen?
need pages.
I think usually they come in around 4:30, and it's not uncommon. So I think 4:30 is a fine, thing. I mean, we'll certainly get it done, if planning is going on, but anything after that is going to be
Does that
a
happen?
real stretch.
Does that happen regularly?
I don't know. I'm guessing it happens to both of our offices. I mean, yeah, people bring up, wanting it on the day of to get it on people's desks.
Are you asking how often do people bring something to be distributed?
Yes.
So like do we have something every council meeting to be distributed once a month?
Where somebody's coming in the day
Timing
of
of the
after 3 o'clock?
We used to get something on recycling
Not
at every meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that both of our offices can receive them, so
Freshly.
we have to
Yeah,
have
you
that
used to get the-
subcommittee
the
meeting
Bruce
about
Wood.
how often this happens, to be accurate.
Recycling paper.
He's been doing that for as long as I've been here.
He stopped a while ago.
So
We got something
4:30.
really
Stop.
offensive.
Y'all want to
last
set
do the
4:30 is the
term. We got something that was like really
4:30?
offensive, but I don't think it was a
Everybody?
person
Yes.
anybody was
Yes.
sure.
You're the chair.
I can't
You decide.
vote.
All right. Next page. The only other materials that may be placed upon members' desks during a meeting are subject to the discretion of the vice mayor instead of just saying it's zoning legislation before the council at that meeting.
Oh, so if we turned the page, we didn't have to have that discussion.
Everything on the prior page is negated. But first, cut the red wire. Okay, 48, restrictions on access to the
I'm
chamber.
sorry, wait, go back. The distribution of such materials, if it's subject to the discretion of vice mayor, do we need shall be under the direction of? So it's up to
Yes.
the clerk and the council office to,
Figure it out.
Okay,
Make
sorry.
it happen
Here we go.
While they're doing 13 other things. 48, restrictions on this, it moves the cell phone to rule 50, and, which is the second paragraph here, mobile telephones. And it said, our current rule says members of the press shall be permitted at the front of the council chamber on either side of the dais, which obviously is not the case. So I've changed this to and along the perimeter of the council chamber, which is why they're usually looking over my shoulder and asking me people's names during the meeting.
so, can we have this at the start of the committees? I don't know. So a couple of council women asked me, what do you do with your purses? What do you do with your purse during, because I am concerned, I'm on the aisle and, towards the back, and I would like to feel comfortable leaving my laptop and my purse and things at my desk or on top of my desk, not having to shove things under. And so is there something we can do because there's a lot of foot traffic on the council floor during committees when people are back here, and people just in and out and stuff. And so I end up shoving things in my desk or carrying them around with me. Is there something we can do about that? Or is that just, I'm gonna continue to carry my stuff with me?
We usually have security there, right? Is
Yeah,
that
but people
during?
are still, there's still tons of people that are all in around the chamber, and I don't know who they are. I assume somebody does, but
So if we have security sitting there while everyone else is at committee meetings, does that if that's usually not done, is that an extra cost?
She's actually usually back here.
So starting at 5:30, lobbyists and all them are not allowed on the floor. Because it says, no persons except those allowed in the chamber during a meeting, which is enumerated elsewhere, may be in the council chamber at any time, 1 hour prior to any meeting of the Metropolitan Council.
In the past, we had major problems with that, people violating that rule. And so we would have to get sometimes the security downstairs to come up and escort people off the floor. But I didn't really notice that last term being a
No,
problem.
there's a sign.
There is a sign.
Yeah,
Some-
because when I was a lobbyist,
There was a sign then too, but they just ignored it.
There are people around, hanging around the desks and stuff before
Yeah, and
meetings.
that the security, our security, whether it's the woman who's always here, or if it's rotated out somebody else, they might not know. If they
So
don't,
maybe
they don't
that's
know
our
us
first
down, they don't know
for
the
them.
40 of us anyway downstairs.
Can you be paying attention?
Yeah,
So can we just ask, can we ask security specifically, starting at 5:30, can we have someone in here to be sure that they're not coming into the area where all of our belongings are? Because you said one person is here.
You need one at this door and one at the,
So
Swinging.
whenever I would go in and I would see somebody that didn't belong there, we would just tell them, get out, you can't be here.
but I guess it's really, committees start at 4.
If security is already in the building, just like somewhere else, might as well ask them to go and.
Well, but at that hour, I don't think they are.
So it'd be an extra cost.
Because I think the sergeant at arms, which is the metro police officer that sits in the back, I don't know what time she comes in.
And she's
The
actually
other,
started
at the
coming to
front door,
hallway.
they start ramping up, an hour before or however long.
And I guess it was somewhat not per my request, but after talking with Council Lady Weiner when she was vice mayor, that our Sergeant Arms came to the back hallway to give us a little bit more of law and order in the hallway and not as much chaos there.
There's no sign by the swingy door, is there?
Yeah, there is.
But it's
That's
small.
what
Oh, the back one, yeah.
So, I mean, it's in the rule, and we can change the rule to 2 hours, but enforcement is something that has to happen outside of the rules.
How heavy is your purse?
I mean, it's the fact that it's my laptop. You know,
So-
I know other people actually do carry purses and things. I tend not to, but it's my laptop, and that's or other.
So, Council Lady, do you want to change this to 2 hours? Is that what you want to have happen as far as the rules go?
So 2 hours before would make it 4:30. Well,
Are people really here before that?
We also have planning committees meeting.
I just feel like as soon as planning committee starts at 4, that floor should only be council people and authorized.
So once the
People,
day's first
and-
committee
If it
has
just
taken.
said at any time, wouldn't that take care of it? Well, I mean, I know that on the day of a council meeting, something like that, I don't mean to exclude community meetings, but.
I kind of feel that way too. I mean, there's other places, and we need to, I think, get into some of those other places, but we have other places where if a member needs to talk with a member of the public, the entire lobby is available to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about the state legislature, right? Like, that's an architecture solution. We don't have that here.
Yeah, because we really don't have anywhere private to go talk.
No, it's not just that. I mean, we
No, private like talk on the phone if we need to.
At any time
On the day of council meeting? Is that what we're looking at?
after 3 p.m. on the day council meeting.
Once committee meetings have started.
Yeah,
Any time the council or any committees are in session.
are in session.
That's it.
yeah.
It's
Once
4 o'clock.
the
Isn't that the early-
day's
that's
first committee
beginning.
is. Or,
So 4 p.m.
Yeah.
On the
During-
start of the first committee.
okay.
Well, and again, I would take this, I think John said something to the effect of like, okay, budget and finance today. Budget and finance starts at 4 o'clock. You do not have members of the public on the floor.
An hour
Yeah, from
before.
4 o'clock on.
Yeah, I would say 4 o'clock on, because then you're not.
Yeah, because so I guess right now, when budget committee's in there, a lobbyist could come in and start talking to people during the committee. And I mean, granted, like, we're in here in a committee room and nothing is stopping a lobbyist or member of the public from distracting one of us to do that. So it's twofold. It's some of it is security for like my belongings, because we don't have key service and things like that. And then secondly, some of it is also so we are in a controlled environment to run our meeting and not be distracted as much. So,
Okay. Great. Okay, we got that.
however y'all want to make that look.
Can we just not get a file cabinet?
Everybody their own private safe. 40.
Russ and I have already looked into it.
We're in the start of the first committee of that day.
Yeah. Can I also, go ahead, sorry, John.
You have something else on 48?
Yes.
Okay.
So, we also have an issue, as we know, like, getting around in the hallway becomes impossible.
Yes.
And so I don't know if this is something we need to just mull on between now and whenever our next meeting is, but I find it very uncomfortable to go through a hallway and feel like I'm running a gauntlet of lobbyists, which is what we are doing.
Or members
We
of the
are,
public.
but it's
not
members of
just-
the public
yeah.
too.
Well,
You can't, unless
So I
you
think about-
specifically kick out lobbyists, then you're kicking out the public too.
Well, right. So I think about and the other issue is like, I mean, you are cramped in there. I mean, people are shoulder to shoulder
noise.
crammed in there. Is there an area where you know, okay, if I'm gonna go meet with somebody, I meet with them in a space that can hold it? And I'm talking like by the bathrooms. I'm not talking about like 100 yards away. But I'm just thinking like this area right here is just it's a mess. We shouldn't hold committees here. I mean, let's be honest. But in the meantime, it's just strange. I mean, I don't know. I have a personal problem when a lobbyist holds the door of the council chamber open for me to go into the council chamber. That creates an impression.
Yeah.
So,
As a lobbyist, I mean, we are lobbyists for a reason, right? But I have the very similar. It is uncomfortable because I should have the choice to speak to someone or not and not be physically cornered. But it is also a noise concern when and it happens, I feel like, to rules the most because we're the last committee meeting, and so nobody realizes we're meeting, and it's like a party's going on outside the hallway. I mean, I asked Frida to shut the door how many, like on it every time we meet.
Well, and these rooms are, I mean, again, I'm admitting, all these rooms are too small, right? Like, we don't have rooms that are conducive to having actual committees.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if we can fix it or not through just Rule 48, but,
What's our fire code limit in that hallway?
well, that's, yeah, I think that gets ignored, so.
We have had the fire marshal in the past come up during council meetings, and it's been an issue since we moved back to this building. There are too much going on and too many people who are interested in being around.
Again, we may not solve it with Rule 48, but when we're talking about access, I just thought
Yeah.
There's a fire,
we need to be real about this.
I
Across from the Capitol.
like having to face public some. I mean,
No,
I mean,
facing
like-
the public, but it's like when you are literally here facing the public.
Yeah.
I think it can be done better. Let me put it that way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a less than ideal setup here.
And I don't want to put anybody in the position of being hall monitor, but the noise is unbelievable at times.
Maybe this is something where we just need to talk.
So should we put in that everybody has to whisper?
Oh, maybe we don't address it with the rules, but we do talk to our,
think we
your
should.
sergeant at arms, whoever's manning that door, and say, we're gonna need you to be really.
Well, it's the same as like if somebody is back here at the front, our front door, the clerk office doors are quote unquote shut for new people to come back here at 5:30, is that right? But if there are people back here already, sometimes they then linger on and throughout the meeting,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. We can table that to my subcommittee on mail.
Okay.
Colby, we'll chat.
On male and loud voices.
Yes.
All right, Rule 49 has not happened since I have not seen Channel 5 come in and broadcast the entire council meeting.
That was put in back when before we had a Channel 3, back when Channel 8 showed all of the meetings, and it was to kind of protect them, I guess, so that the news stations didn't come in and do a live broadcast of part of the meeting. That it was, if you're gonna show it, you have to show the whole thing.
Okay.
But it hasn't been on Channel 8 in many years.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. So 49. So 50. Right now is tobacco. So
What about vaping?
the use of what's that?
Vaping.
Yes. Add it in.
It's already in here. The use of tobacco. It doesn't say the smoking of tobacco. The use of tobacco
Yeah, because that covers chewing.
or
Any other
alcohol
nicotine delivery device?
shall be prohibited in the council
Well, yeah.
chamber at all times.
Because vaping isn't tobacco, is it? It is just nicotine. Yeah, we need
Oh,
to
really?
change that.
Somebody's got a patch. Let's not outlaw.
Right.
That's true.
Nicotine
I have a
delivery.
friend that got a
Outward
patch
physical use
after trying to quit smoking. He got a patch in the gum.
What includes gum, vaping, and smoking, but not a patch or gum?
Well, that's not even prescribed by your healthcare provider.
We're checking for patches.
Vaping,
The clerk shall be directed.
you do need vaping because
Just put vaping.
yeah,
I think, being
Yeah.
real.
I agree. The use of tobacco, vaporizing devices, vape pens. Well, they come in other shapes besides pens.
actually legally
Vape
by the state, I don't know if
USBs.
we can do this. Can we do this?
We can. I
This is the
researched
only place
this,
we
like,
can?
yeah,
Okay.
the state at this point has not done any restrictions on what you can do about vaping in certain areas.
So we could ban
But
vaping
tobacco.
in every public place in Nashville. Not that I'm suggesting that.
Until the state came in next
Session.
3 days later.
I don't know, they don't seem
I'm
to
not
be
for
Can we
it.
vaping
restrict
if
the
they're.
use of tobacco in this building?
Yes.
This is like the only
There's
place- yeah. Where
the
else would we do
state preemption excludes government buildings. It says local governments can prohibit
And a Senate amphitheater.
in government buildings. And now, outside of, well, you can do it in parks now and some other outdoor areas within so many feet of a hospital.
Okay, cool.
So the
Good to
use
know.
of tobacco, what's the word?
Can you say
all
Vaping devices.
Can you say the use of
Or
tobacco or
concession
alcohol
alcohol.
and
Is it
vaping
tobacco?
shall be prohibited?
Is
Or do
vaping
you
a
could
legal
use-
term?
You can call it e-cigarettes. So I'm Googling
E-cigarettes?
Nicotine delivery devices.
There you go.
Yes,
Nicotine-
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Alright,
Yes.
But if you say nicotine delivery devices, should it say with the exclusion of?
Well, I think
A patch is not, I wouldn't call a patch a
our
device.
physical use of
Nicotine delivery devices such as vapes, something like that.
yeah.
But not
we'll let them
limited,
take
but
that
not
out.
limited to.
Oh, jeez.
Strongly encourage the smoking caucus to look into the fact.
The use of,
the way smoking jacket was.
instead of talking about mobile telephones, the use of two-way voice or two-way video communication shall be prohibited. So if people want to
No FaceTime.
FaceTime, they can, no, but if you want to Facebook Live, go for it.
But two-way voice would not, that is or it is not intended to include a cell phone?
It's mostly intended to include a cell phone. Yeah.
No
So
walkie-talkie.
Dave,
No cell phones or FaceTime.
No
Well,
walkie-talkie.
I mean, audio, two-way voice
Right.
communication.
Like if you want to sit there and play on your phone or broadcast the meeting on Facebook Live, go for it. But not anything where you're
Be on a
where you have to talk or be seen or yeah. Yes.
So texting, yes, talking, no.
Yes. Gosh, yes, texting. To a consumption. Apparently, there's a rising issue of people having full meals on the council floor, which was not an issue last term. So, consumption of food beyond small snacks.
My definition
Which is
of
what
small
Bob came
snack
in
is
for.
very different than.
Come on. Shall be prohibited during council meetings. The clerk may, that's up to Elizabeth. The clerk may formulate and enforce further policies for the general maintenance and upkeep of the council chamber.
I waive my authority. I really appreciated it, felt good for a minute.
51. It used to be that if you wanted to amend the rules midterm, there was a 30-day waiting period, but it also required 27 votes. We changed that to 21 votes. What do y'all think about 21? Actually, we skipped out. 21
We
versus
changed it
27.
in here, like last year, it was still 21 though, right? I mean, it was 27.
It's been 21 since, I think, the first year of our
Oh.
term.
what has it been historic?
I thought it was
27.
27.
I'd
always
go
27.
27. I don't know why we did 21.
27?
Doesn't matter to me.
I was operating for the last 4 years, that it was 27, so.
So if there were some sort of substantial change that came with respect to some way that committees are structured or something along those lines, it would be subject to a threshold of 27 versus 21.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. 52, suspension of the rules. We reduced this from 5 to 2 at the beginning of last term.
Councilmember Stiles would like me to express that she would like it to go back up to 5.
Okay.
I would just say we use 2 pretty rarely.
Yeah.
It used to be 1. So up until a couple terms ago, it was if one person objected, you couldn't suspend the rules. And then they went to 2,
And someone
and
got
somehow it
elected.
jumped from 2 to 5.
Okay.
I'm okay with 2.
I'm fine with
Wasn't
2.
fair.
Okay.
I feel like 2 worked last term. I mean, it was pretty. It was only.
It changed to 2 because of an episode. See, everything happens because of one particular
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And it was the last meeting of the term, and a particular council member who was not reelected decided to be a pain, and it was the last meeting of the term, and we were trying to get the notaries done so that they didn't have to wait 2 months. And this particular council member objected to having the notary resolution considered. And so they came in the next term and were like, man, come on. One person ought not be able to hold the.
Yeah.
So they went
So they went to two.
superreactionary to 5. Oh, they went to 2.
And how
How
did
did
we
we
end up
get 5?
5?
That was last term, I don't know.
Cooper's like, I left John. Oh, God.
We were at 5 at the beginning of last term, and we changed it to 2.
Yeah, I can't remember operating under 5.
We've never.
We
I
must have
know.
changed it to 2 at the
You
beginning.
must have been blocking things out by that point of the.
Well, it could have been
11
number. So you're saying maybe the 11 to 15 term they were under 5? Interesting.
Yeah.
Is this
No,
it?
just maybe it was
Maybe it was like for.
at the beginning of last term and then y'all went back again, cause I know about 2, and John's saying it was 2 when he became.
Yeah, I don't know when it was ever.
Go to 3.
3.5.
2.5.
I think I think 2 works.
I think 2 is fine, yeah.
2. And,
I'm good with 2.
okay.
I think a higher number is more fair, but
Joy.
I like 2 cause it's easy to.
Yeah.
Easy to signal.
Not what you wanna have to deal with, that's gonna take a while to figure out.
Are you objecting?
Think about
Yeah, are you yawning? Is that, yeah.
that's what I was thinking about.
Okay. Well, we'll stick with 2, and Joy can try to convince us next time. Sine die. Currently, there's nothing that says that legislation's dead at the end of a term.
Well, needs to be.
Yeah, so. So there are 72 fairgrounds bills still hanging out there. So this just says that we're sine die and everything is deemed withdrawn. Okay. Is there anything else about individual rules that anybody would like to discuss tonight?
I felt the need to follow up with the committee because I mentioned about a conversation about potentially condensing some committees. I've talked to the vice mayor, talked to the rules chair just very briefly to say I think it's better for us to work over a longer period of time on that. So I don't want to propose doing that for this year. But the vice mayor did when I communicated with him, hey, I think it's a good idea, just not immediately. He agreed, and so I think there may be some future conversations that the rules chair and the vice mayor will have. But all that to say, I think keeping things as they are this year is probably the best bet because of where we are at this point.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have something, I don't mean to interject it from anybody else though, but about the questionnaire.
Yes.
There are a couple things that I needed to just throw out there for you guys to consider. One is right now, we don't document and record demographic information on the questionnaire. But there are between 5 and 7 boards and commissions that require that information, require certain demographic fields to be met or be reflective of the community and so forth. So right now that demographic information is not being collected. So I was asking if we could add gender and ethnicity to the questionnaire that goes out to board and commission of nominees. And so that's one thing. The other thing is under Metro Code Chapter 2.64, every board and commission member has to have a phone number listed online, and there are some exceptions to that if it's like a quasi-judicial board, but without kind of digressing too much. Right now, the questionnaire asks people to identify an address, phone number, and email address where they can be contacted for it to be posted. The clerk's office posts this information. I noticed that you all shifted to a model of one public square, which totally makes sense, and we have some boards and commissions that we have to do that on your membership list online for the council members. And just wanted to ask if we still want to put people's addresses and email accounts. Now, phone number is required under the code, but not address or email. So that's used as a method of direct communication. I used to have folks on some of my boards get contacted directly by members of the community. I mean, it certainly happens with other boards and commissions too. And sometimes it's a matter that's before the board that's not proper for them to respond to, and it creates some issues, and they're wanting to figure out, how do I deal with this? I've got one board that is prohibited from discussing a pending matter that's before it amongst themselves, let alone with anybody in the community. And so, for instance, in that case, we had to go through some channels to figure out whether we could get the email addresses offline and so forth. So unless they fit into a legal exception, our boards and commission members do have like their contact info posted on Nashville.gov.
So first with the gender and what else? Ethnicity. Can it be made clear, I mean, can we note that they only need to be listed for these certain boards and commissions and the reason why, so folks understand that it's for the purpose of inclusion and not exclusion?
I don't mind doing that. I mean, right now we're using a pretty rote little kind of online form, and the whole board and commission platform is eventually going to change after we implement Granicus in the council chambers. Then we're going to implement the same system for boards and commissions and have a way nicer suite of information that's accessible. When I've looked at peer cities, they collect this data regularly for everybody. I mean, it seems unusual to me for Metro to not know how many women versus men are on the boards, or
This is
that kind of
information I
thing.
requested last term and got hostile answers back on from the administration.
Councilor?
I think that it's really important to include the demographic information so that we can make sure that we're being inclusive, but I will also ask that you, if you don't mind, in some form or fashion, like consult with the Minority Caucus and the LGBTQ Caucus. And my thoughts on that are, in collecting this information, we also want to make sure that when we're thinking about inclusivity, that we're also considering the LGBT community. But we don't want to out someone who does not want to include that information. So could there be a way to make this information optional? But then again, consulting with those caucuses to make sure that we are being sensitive to all the nuances that we may not consider.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And the conversation was about having them be a blank and not having a radio buttons or something where you have to choose, let everybody identify their ethnicity and gender the way they want to, as opposed to...
Do y'all also collect, like, where in Nashville they live, like which region, southeast, north, or anything like that? Because I know in southeast we have a huge problem. I don't think we have very many people on our boards who are from southeast. Maybe one.
I think we've done that by zip code before, right? Like we've broken it down by zip code. Am I wrong? I remember there being a story during the Dean administration, though.
Yeah, we collect their addresses when they...
Yeah, they keep it by council district, but it does appear that the representation is not always proportionate. So I think that would be good information for us to keep up with.
Yeah, and they do provide their council district on
the letter,
the online version, although for some reason yes, it's on the paper version, so we specifically asked for that information. Which council district do they reside in?
On gender and ethnicity, is it possible, like we've taken tons of polls and forms and stuff, that where it's not required, is there a box or something that says prefer not to answer?
Yeah, it would be a text box, so they could
So somebody
put
could leave
anything
it
in.
blank.
Leave it blank, and if it's on a committee where you need, where we need the information because the statute says you have to have so many of, then I guess you're...
But if you don't know, you don't have to answer?
That's what I was gonna
That's
say.
my point.
Could you still put something that said, like, this information is required for the following committees to stay in compliance with whatever, or this information is optional? Because if people don't know that they don't have to put it, they may.
So I think the standard in Pure Cities is that this data is collected. We're gonna have a bit of a challenge trying to tailor something right now real specifically because we're about to migrate to a completely different system. So asking ITS to create like a complex level of fields when we know that what we've got right now is obsolete would be more time consuming than would be ideal.
Can we just start with the new system then? Do we need to start now?
Well, so historically this data's been captured, and it was captured by somebody in the clerk's office subjectively projecting onto an individual what their race and gender is, which
Are any of these
Can't
boards coming up before we get the new system?
I can't in good conscience do that.
I don't know, I mean, there aren't many that have.
Why don't we just
statutorily
address this
required.
if it comes up before the new system is in place?
Well, what are we gonna do in the meantime?
No, if this comes up, so if there's an opening on one of these boards that you have to have legally this information, then we ask that person when they're applying, instead of making everybody conform to.
What about for the other ones where the clerk's office has been
Yeah,
just
well,
guessing?
because
Guessing?
again, then we would have a gap in knowing,
I'm just talking about the ones
Men
that we
versus
need to
women
know
generally.
legally. If this is a problem now, I mean, I'm not understanding.
They're mayoral appointments, so the mayor's office could make
Yes.
that determination and
I think that's a great idea.
Yes,
put it on them.
Yeah,
These boards could also self-identify.
yeah.
send that message back to the mayor. I mean that in a
think
good way, like, cause
self-identify.
it's to us, sorry.
Respectfully.
Respectfully, Rita.
I will do it tomorrow morning.
Let me say that without my need for a heavy snack.
The other part was the addresses. I mean, I think if you're on a public board and commission making decisions for the public, then there should be some level of accessibility to the public.
I'm more concerned with the fact that our addresses have been taken offline, and I didn't know that.
Our addresses.
Didn't know they have.
Elizabeth, didn't you say that all of our addresses are one public square now?
yeah, the addresses that we have for everybody are one public square.
That's,
That's
On the contact sheet?
Like, yes.
On the
on our
contact
public
sheet.
contact
I think it's on the contact sheet.
whoever
Can
made
we-
that decision will hopefully reverse it.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't know where it came from either,
We
to
just
be
work here.
honest.
Yeah,
What's your title
We'll
again?
find out.
it probably happened with the mandatory phone numbers, is what I'm guessing. So
Yes. Oh,
hopefully y'all
gosh.
can circle back on that.
Voicemail. Good.
You don't have to have the mandatory phone number. I don't have one.
Oh, good.
You don't have to.
Need a seventh
You
phone.
are set free.
Okay. So anyway, back to the conversation about board and commission addresses. I mean, I know at least like the HEF board, which is historically opaque and attempts to ensure the members don't answer the public in any meaningful way, have only put up their law firm's email address in an effort to ensure that they're all hidden in the back room as much as possible. And I mean, I think that it's better for folks to
I
be.
can look at that, I don't, is that not, well, okay, I can make a note of that one because I have some thoughts, if that's the case.
I do too. Okay.
Well,
I think there are probably, there are some boards and commissions where one email address is used for all of the commissioners.
yeah, and that's when it's
Yeah,
quasi-judicial.
that's if you're a quasi-judicial where you cannot communicate with, you can't have ex parte communications. That was why those were set up that way. Like it's, planning commissioners at nashville.gov or something.
Yeah. Which is
So I can
HEF
ignore
worse.
all zoning
So,
emails?
what?
Zoning's different. Zoning is not quasi-judicial. It's the subdivision regulations.
Yeah. Anyway, my thought was if there's an ability, like we have our phone numbers, if there's an ability to have some sort of metro.
So under state law, employee phone numbers are confidential. You cannot disclose an employee phone number.
Which funnily enough,
We're
we're all listed
employees.
as FTEs. and
I've always thought, I've
Gray
always
area.
wondered how, yeah, that
And I
is a
think
gray
that's
area.
the legal basis on which all your addresses were changed, was my assumption, because,
May have been, because names and addresses of employees are confidential under state law. So to the extent you're an employee, that shouldn't be posted online.
I thought that was only like for your personnel file purposes, not for like your personal.
It is,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
but
your
your
personnel.
personal address and your personal
Yeah.
cell phone number or whatever.
I mean, again, it goes back to we should have a choice and a say in how our constituents contact us, hence my
Yeah, I mean, I
rebellion
think if
against
you-
the
if
mandatory
you-
phone number.
We have
Waive that.
veered off the
Yeah,
track
yeah.
again.
Maybe we
So,
can move that to the
okay.
sorry, we're gonna keep these addresses just like how we've got them
Great.
right now, just, thank you.
One more thing before we walk out the door. Right now, our rules are in a random order, where you need to look through the entire thing to find anything on any topic. the numbers are going to be changing anyway because of some of the rules that are going away and getting added. So on the back page of your packet is a proposed way of ordering them in a very logistical and obsessive compulsive manner.
I would just like to voice my objection to 17.
I know you want Colby's. Yes, I know.
New 17 or all 17?
He wants the rule where you're only.
I don't want.
Sorry, she wants the rule where you're allowed to defer a bill that only
In your
applies to
district.
your district
I wanted that to be.
to be numbered for Colby's district because it's usually
It's
used
the one that it's
on a
supposed to apply
property
to.
in his district.
That's funny.
Anyway, so we only have loose ends to clean up, I think. So we can, next time we get together, not tomorrow, next time we get together, we can vote. It should be prior to the next council meeting. So it can either be, and I guess it depends on how much we're gonna end up having. Do you know what the confirmations are gonna look like for the next council meeting?
For the 19th, I don't, because the deadline to file the letters isn't until Tuesday, and there might be
Okay.
a few because the mayor's office has been working hard to get caught up on the confirmations since they haven't filed many yet.
Okay, so we'll probably have to get together one more time like this, hopefully earlier. What time is best for those of you who are kind enough to stick around?
It
Is there-
depends. I mean,
Depends on the day. Depends on the day. Okay, well, the council office coordinate. Okay, anybody have anything else? Thank you. We're adjourned.
we're down to 4.